What's up everybody, it's Izzy, and what I want to do in this video is expand upon a quick 1-minute Instagram video that I did the other day about audiobooks. So if you're not following me on Instagram, you should do that now. I'll put a link in the description box, but here's basically, let me set up the context for you, okay? This is how I did the video. The average American reads 12 books a year, okay? The median number though is 5. And on top of that, and this is all from a 2013 study, 71% of Americans said they had read at least one part of a book. That means 29% fully admitted that they had not read even one part of a book that year. Now, let's break down that sentence further, because it doesn't say that 71% of Americans read a book. It says that they read at least one part of a book. So who knows how many people never even finish a book? I bet you it's something like 80 to 90% of people never finish a book that they pick up. So on top of that, we also know that like 80% of books that are read in the US are romance fiction books, okay? Like that's incredible. So it could be as much as 70% of the US population that does not read a single nonfiction book per year. Now, if I was to tell you that you could get an advantage on 70% of the population, would you be interested? I hope so, because that's what audiobooks can do for you. And the reason why this is such a life hack is because it requires no additional time investment. None. You can do this while cleaning your house, cooking meals, folding laundry, driving, brushing your teeth, taking a shower. I mean, you can think of a bunch of activities that require very low, basically, levels of thought that you can listen to books during this time period. Now, what I want to do is give you some best practices and things that I personally do to get more out of audiobooks. And I would say that the number one thing that you want to do is make sure that you get a book that is read by the author. So whoever wrote the book is actually reading it as well. And the reason why this is key is because it keeps the emotional content of the book in the book. So when you hear somebody talking and they're giving you a personal anecdote, you maybe not remember every single thing that they said, right? But you will remember how it made you feel, and that's what really counts. You don't remember every single conversation that you've ever had with all of your friends and family and your loved ones, but you know how they've made you feel on those most important special occasions. And you'll get a very similar thing with books that are actually read by the author. Their intonations, their inflections, their emphasis on certain points will tell you what's really the most important thing. Number 2 is to listen to things that you're actually interested in at that time. So when I first started, I made the mistake of like looking up lists, like the 10 best business books of all time, the 100 best fiction books, and I would try to go through the list. Now the reason why, I mean, it's still a good thing to do, right? But the reason why that isn't as effective as listening to something that you're currently interested in is because it doesn't give you an opportunity to implement the new information. So for example, with the current business that I'm working in, I do hundreds of calls per day. Cold calls, sales calls, whatever, right? It's part of the business. The last maybe 15 books that I've listened to have all been related to sales, every single one. And the reason why this helps me to learn and retain as much of the material as possible is because it's actually something that I'm currently doing with my life. So 15 minutes later, after I'm done, eating lunch or whatever, I'll be on a sales call. And then the information that I heard during the book, I can immediately apply it, and that increases my chances of actually, using it. And when you actually use information, you internalize it. Okay. Another tip that I want to give you is to use Amazon. Okay. I use Amazon's Audible, and the reason why I use Audible is because they have the best selection. They have the best selection of books actually read by the author. And again, that's a very key aspect for me, is to get a book read by the author. Okay. Now, let's talk about some common arguments against this. So one would be retention rates. And look, I agree, the retention rates on audiobooks are pretty low. And the reason why is because, you're not taking notes. Anytime that you're not taking notes, you're probably going to have a fairly low retention rate. However, the reason why this argument is completely irrelevant is because if you're brushing your teeth, you can't be taking notes anyway. So it's better to retain 10% of an amazing book than it is to retain 0% of no book. You know what I mean? So look, I totally agree that you can't retain all of it, but that also doesn't matter. And this is another reason why I think listening to books actually read by the author is so important. Because even if you don't remember every single word, you will remember how the book made you feel. Okay? Now, other than the retention thing, another argument might be that you don't have money. Okay, fine, I totally get that. But if you don't have money, you probably should be investing in yourself anyway, but let's not even go there in this video. What you can do is there's tons of free podcasts, there's tons of YouTube channels with free content, okay? There's a million options out there. Okay, so you can do any of those things. Those are all free and it still applies. You can listen to that while you're brushing your teeth, while you're driving, blah, 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 blah. And in so doing, you will be able to get through tons of quality material that other people aren't getting through. And the last tip that I have for you, and it's the most important one, is to train yourself to listen to these things at faster than the original speed. You can start off with 1.25 speed or 1.5x speed. Personally, I've gotten to the point where I listen to pretty much everything on either 2x or 2.5x speed. And if it's material that I've already heard before in a speaker whose style that I'm used to and they don't have an accent, I'll push it as high as 3x speed. Now again, a lot of you are going to say, well, how can you possibly retain that? I don't need to retain every single thing, okay? And now if I go through a book very quickly and I found that it was so valuable and there were so many things in there that I needed to retain at a 100% level, I would actually go through the book with a pen and a paper and take notes. However, for the most part, what you really want out of this is just the larger ideas. You want the paradigm shifts that it will give you more so than the actual technical step-by-step stuff. For books that you do need the technical step-by-step instructions, I don't necessarily recommend this, right? Listen to it at the normal speed or actually get the real book and sit down when you have a time to take notes. However, look, again, it's better to get 10% in an amazing book than to get 0% because you're so caught up on this retention thing. By listening to books at 2x speed, 2.5x speed, while you're brushing your teeth, driving, cleaning, cooking, shopping, showering, whatevering, that time is not new time that you're like investing. You're gonna do that shit anyway. And if you listen to audiobooks while you do that, you will get through at least one book a week. Personally, I get through a book more like every 2 to 3 days. And if you do the math on that, yes, what I'm telling you is that I get through over 100 books a year. And I've done this consistently for years, okay? And imagine what kind of advantage that this could give me, and imagine what kind of advantage it could give you when the average American doesn't even finish, one nonfiction book every year. You're going to be finishing one nonfiction book with this method every week, guaranteed, if you do what I say. If you follow my instructions on this one, listen at faster than the normal speed, listen during times when you're, using a low amount of your brain anyway, and listen to topics that you're interested in, listen to authors that actually wrote their books. It will make all the difference, and I promise you, this one single habit will completely change your life in a matter of months, guaranteed. I couldn't say it any more strongly than that. So, if you're still not interested in that at this point, you probably just don't give a shit about yourself. So that's all I have to say about this. Again, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I post stuff like this all the time in the description box. If you want to know how to get audiobooks, I will put a link to Audible in the description box. It's the service that I use, and it's the service that I recommend as well. So anyways, that's all I have to say about audiobooks. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, my friends, good luck with your training and have a nice day.